because they're giving up. Oh, that's, you know what? Those flowers are for me. Here's what I want you to do. Run up and catch that woman and give those flowers to them.
Yes! Yes! Woo! Amazing! Yes!
That's nice. That's nice. So, in the Times today and in many other newspapers, they're sort of starting to give up about Trump. If we win Florida, believe me, it's over. If we win, and we're going to win, and you're going to have a great president, and you're going to have a great, great country again, and you're going to feel so proud of your country again, you're not going to be embarrassed with Sergeant Bergdahl. We get Bergdahl. We get Bergdahl, right? We get a dirty, rotten traitor.
Scum!
6 people, 5 people, probably 6 people died trying to find him. So we get Bergdahl and they get 5 of the biggest killers that they've been coveting and that they've wanted for years. I call him the 1 for 5 president. That's no trade, folks. We're not going to make deals like that anymore, folks. We don't make deals like that. And you know, as far as the waterboarding is concerned, we have to stay within the laws. We have to stay within the laws. Hey, who here thinks that ISIS, who chops off heads, who drowns people in a cage, who here thinks that ISIS stays within the laws, right? We're like a bunch of babies, but we're going to stay within the laws. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to have those laws broadened because we're playing with 2 sets of rules. Their rules and our rules. And those laws are going to be broadened. It's embarrassing to see what's happening. We fight, oh, waterboarding is so bad. It's so bad, it's so horrible. Waterboarding is such a terrible thing. Okay, we're going to stay within the law, but we're going to increase it. But think of us, waterboarding is such a terrible thing. And think back in the Mideast. Now you have ISIS guys sitting around a table celebrating the fact that they just cut off the heads of 30 Christians, right? Do you think they obey the laws? The laws? You know, I told this story and then some people said it wasn't necessarily true and then it turned out to be true. But I tell this story, it's a rough story. Should I tell it or not?
Tell it! Tell it!
Remember, they asked me to tell it, so it's not my fault.
Pig's blood!
But in the old days, when we were strong and respected, we had a general named General Pershing,
yes,
very tough cookie. We have, hey, General Patton. How long do you think, how long do you think ISIS would last with the great General George Patton, with the great General Douglas MacArthur?
Yes!
Believe me.
Yoo-hoo!
Around 1919, they had a problem with Islam. I mean, they had a problem with terrorism, radical Islamic terrorism. Okay? They had a big, big problem. Tremendous atrocities were being committed. And General Pershing and his group were sent out to solve the problem. And they caught 50 terrorists. And they took those terrorists and they stood them up, all 50. And they took the bullets and they cut open 2 pigs. And they dropped the bullets into the pigs. And they took the pig's blood and they splashed it around. And they then took those bullets, they put them in the guns, they shot 49 of the terrorists with the bullets loaded up with pig fat and pig blood, which is not something that can be explained. Not nice, not politically correct. I don't think they'd allow that today, do you agree?
No. Need to.
They shot 49 of the 50 terrorists. And the final terrorist, just before he was going to be shot, they went up to him. They said, here, take this bullet. This bullet was meant for you. And he hardly wanted to touch it. Take this bullet. It was meant for you. Go back and tell your people there'll be no more terrorism. For 28 years, there was no more terrorism. For 28 years, there was no more terrorism. Look it up in the Philippines. General Pershing, rough guy. tough guy. 28 years, they say, there was no more terrorism. Now, we can be babies, we can be foolish, we have to be vigilant, we have to be strong, we have to be smart. When Paris happened, it was sort of an amazing thing, that attack in Paris, where the press was calling the leader the mastermind. And the kids, you know, we're losing our children. They're going over there fighting for ISIS because the press calls people masterminds. He's not a mastermind. He's not a mastermind at all. He's not even an intelligent person. I call him the guy with the dirty hat. Remember the white hat? I call him the guy. So they send people in because Paris, by the way, has the toughest gun laws in the world, just about. France has the toughest gun laws in the world. Only the bad guys have the guns. Now, if a few of you, like that guy with his hand up, a few of you had guns wrapped around your hips or guns wrapped around your ankles and you were in that room and you had bullets going in the opposite direction, I guarantee there wouldn't have been 130 people killed, many other people in the hospital. So we have to totally protect our Second Amendment, folks. We have to do it. We have to protect our Second Amendment. In California, when you had the radicalized woman come over and radicalize probably the young man, now they're radicalized and they go in and they kill their fellow workers. Workers that gave them baby showers and parties. Workers that they knew, workers that, from what I hear, they liked. They went in and they killed 14 of them. Others, like in Paris, in the hospital, will never ever be the same. They went in, boom, 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 boom. No guns coming the other way. The military, the 5 military people that were killed in a gun-free zone, think of it, in a gun-free zone on a military base. Now, we have soldiers protecting us. Why do we have gun-free zones on a military base? I mean, that would mean that you should never have your soldiers have guns. And all these guys that complain about guns, like Michael Bloomberg, who used to be a friend of mine, by the way. No. Like many of them, they're complaining about guns. So here's what you do. Tell them immediately to take the guns away from their bodyguards right now. And let's see how they feel walking around certain places, okay? Let's see if they're happy. I don't think they're going to be too happy. So we're going to protect our Second Amendment, me, more than anybody else up here. We're going to protect our Second Amendment. We are going to get rid of Common Core. We are going to bring our education locally with love. Unlike Jeb Bush, he used to say that people come in as an act of love. Oh, there's no act of love. So we're going to get rid of a lot of things. We're getting rid of Obamacare, we're replacing it. We're getting rid of Common Core, and we're going to have our education locally. You know, I tell the story. In 30 countries in education, 30 countries, the United States is rated number 30. You have Denmark, Sweden, Norway, China, and others. They're the best. And yet, in terms of cost per pupil, we're number 1 by far. Number 2 doesn't even exist. It doesn't even exist. It's so far down. Now, here's what's happened with the campaign. So we're number 1 in cost, and we're the least, we're the worst in terms of education. You have third world nations with better educational systems than our country that we love. We can't have, you know, we talk about the American dream. People can't have the American dream if they don't get educated. I mean, it's just not going to happen. We need education. So remember, the most expensive, the least for the buck, right? Now, my campaign, let's talk. I've spent the least amount of money, and I'm number 1 by a lot. I'm killing everybody. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be beautiful? I mean, in New Hampshire, which was really just a great place and a great state, and I told them, we're going to stop heroin from coming in. We're going to clog up that border. We're going to stop heroin. That's all over the country, but in New Hampshire, they have an unbelievable thing. But in New Hampshire, I spent $2 million, and I was #1 in a landslide, right? It was a landslide. Do we agree?
Yes.
Even those people would say, it was a landslide. They don't know what's happening. It was a landslide. I was #1, and I spent very little. Somebody else spent $48 million. So I spent in New Hampshire very, very little money. And somebody, I won't mention names, but somebody spent $48 million and lost and came at the bottom of the pack. We don't want that, folks. Wouldn't you rather be with me and let's spend less and have the best? I'm building a hotel now on Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, and I guess I'm doing it for 2 reasons. #1, I do it because I do it. That's what I do. But I got it from General Services, GSA, very professional people, by the way. Of course, if I didn't get it, I probably wouldn't be saying that, but that's okay. But I got it. One of the most heavily bid, one of the most heavily contested in the history of the GSA. It was probably wanted by more people than any other thing. You know, it's on Pennsylvania Avenue, right between the White House and the Capitol building. The most incredible building, the most incredible location. They gave it to Trump for 2 reasons. I have the best statement you've ever seen. They got to make sure it gets done. And they love the project. It's going to be one of the world's most luxurious hotels. Will employ a lot of people and all of that. And they made the decision, and they boiled it down to 10 companies, great companies. I won't name the companies, but you heard of every one of them. And they chose, in the Obama administration, they chose Trump. Can you imagine that? Which tells you 2 things. #1, I have a great statement, and it also tells you we have a great concept. And it will. It'll be one of the great hotels in the world. But here's the story. So we started construction. We're 2 years ahead of schedule. We were supposed to open in September 2 years from now. And instead, we're opening up in September before the election. Isn't that great? So listen to this. So we're under budget and 2 years ahead of schedule. Wouldn't we love to have a country that could do that? You ever see these projects that we have where there's a 2,000% cost overrun and 1,000%? You know what 1,000%? Where it costs many times what they projected. That won't happen with me, folks. It doesn't happen with me. Do you know we have contractors in this country that bid on these government jobs? They are so rich, you have no idea. They are so rich, they make so much money, they take the money from government. That's not going to happen with me. I will start a new set of procedures where that stuff doesn't happen, folks. We can do that. It won't happen. Now, the nice part about the hotel, if I don't win, I'm living on Pennsylvania Avenue anyway, okay? All right? So now, the new group is trying to stop Trump. And that's going to make a lot of people happy. And they actually mentioned in some of the papers that if that happened, where we're doing so well, there'd almost be a revolution. It would be. I mean, because the last thing that you people are going to take is having a lightweight like a Marco Rubio, who's terrible, having a guy like this, or Lion Tendrous, or some politician in charge of this. We can't have it anymore. We can't have it anymore. I really mean, they're talking about serious problems. But here's the story. So now what they're doing is they're saying, you know what, we may not be able to stop Trump. By the way, speaking of Trump, and speaking of stopping and helping, you've got to get out to vote, folks. Now, remember this. It's Tuesday the 15th. Tuesday. So it's not this Tuesday, it's the following Tuesday. It's Tuesday the 15th. You know what I would do? Just in case you get sick, you don't feel good. And even if you get sick and you can't walk, you got to get up. Have somebody lift you up. I'll even call you. I'll pay for it. I'll get an ambulance. But listen, here's what you have to do. You have to get, so it's not this Tuesday, it's the following Tuesday. If we win Florida, it's over. If we win, can vote early. So go and do it. Go vote. You got it. Okay, wait. Let's do a pledge. Everybody here, who likes me in this room? Okay. I've never done this before. Can I have a pledge? A swearing. Raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly swear
That I, no matter how I feel, no matter what the conditions, if there's hurricanes or whatever, that's good enough, will vote on or before the 12th for Donald J. Trump for president. Now I know. Don't forget, you all raised your hand, you swore. Bad things happen if you don't live up to what you just did. No, I really appreciate it. I mean, we're having an amazing period. It's an amazing period. You know, they used to call this the silent majority, but it wasn't nearly as big like this. They used to call it the silent majority, and I was sort of using that name, and some people didn't like that name because for whatever reason they said it had sort of bad connotations, okay? But I don't need that name, because we're not the silent majority. We're the really noisy majority. So now what they're trying to do, the establishment, and you know, they had the wrong messenger in Romney. I mean, how do you use a guy who should have won an election and lost horribly and made a fool out of himself? So they had a bad messenger. Hey, there are messengers that could be good. There are messages could be good, but he's the wrong messenger. But let me just tell you. So now what they're thinking of doing, because they don't think they can stop us, all right? Maybe they can, I don't know. Hey, look, my life is okay. I mean, a lot of people say, why are you doing this? You have such a great life. You built this great company. You have a wonderful family. I'm doing it because this country was so great to me. It's payback time, folks. It's So now, what these absolute naive,
Jorge Ramos?
naive, what they want to do now, they don't know if they can stop Trump, so they want to start a third party. Remember, I did the pledge that I wouldn't do that. So I do a pledge, and then they do it, right? Okay? Thank you. That's all right. Get him out. Get him out. So I do a pledge, and then they don't do a pledge. But they did a pledge, but they don't honor anything. But here's the story. So they want to start a third party. And they want to put a couple of clowns in there that will take away enough votes that we won't be able to beat Hillary, right? So this woman, just think of it. We lost a great justice, Justice Scalia. My sister is a high judge, and she knew Justice Scalia, and she said he was a great man. She said he was a great man. My sister knew him very well. And we lost a great judge unexpectedly. See, this is what happens in life. Nobody ever talked about him. It wasn't going to be him. You have people that are older on the court. You have people that they thought were going to be leaving. You had others. Nobody ever talked. And all of a sudden it happened. Out of nowhere. One day you pick up, he was a great judge, a conservative judge, a brilliant judge, a fair judge. He had so many qualities. And a brilliant judge. And that's what we want to replace with, as close to him as we can get. And I even gave some names. I won't give them now, but I even gave some names of great conservative judges. Okay, so here's the story. Here's the Republicans, and this is where it doesn't work for them. It's called the Supreme Court. Because let's say they put a couple of Republicans, just as scapegoats, they can't win, but they'll put in a couple of Republicans, and these Republicans will take off 5%, 2%, 3% of the vote, right? And now Hillary goes in. We're going to have to replace, probably over the next 4-year term, it could be as many as 4 Supreme Court justices, including Judge Scalia. Can you imagine what will happen if that happens? Now, I don't know if these people are thinking right, because I pledged that I'm going to put on good, conservative, brilliant judges, right? If a Hillary gets in, or whoever, I don't know how she can run. I'll be honest, I don't know how she can run. But let's assume she'll run. Don't forget you have a statute of limitations. Let's assume that she runs. And Do you know what she would do with the Supreme Court? She would have 4 judges and maybe more that she'll do over the next 4 years, including Scalia. All this work that everybody's doing not to appoint a judge, that would go to Hillary if she wins. So when the Republicans want to play games, and when they want to, look, this establishment group, headed by Mitt Romney, who's not a smart man, I'm telling you. And Steve Forbes, I'm telling you, I finally found out why they never give me the right number in Forbes magazine. I finally find it out. I read it this morning. They're friends. I can't believe it. I always liked Steve until now. But here's the story. But I don't care. I don't care. But remember this. If they do that, folks, number one, they're doing it to you. They're not doing it to me. They're not. My life will be a lot easier, believe me. They're doing it to you. They're doing it to the movement.
Yes.
Take a look at Time magazine 4 weeks ago. The most incredible story I've ever had. It talks about this movement, that there's never been anything like it, that the people are in love with each other. We have a great country. We have a country where Apple is going to start making their iPhones in our country. Believe me when I get there. We have a great country, but we have leadership that almost is non-existent. We have incompetent leaders. We're going to have really, really smart leadership. And when that happens, you're going to be so happy. I'm going to give you one quick story. One quick story. Carrier. Did you see it 2 weeks ago? Yeah. Carrier air conditioners. I buy a lot of Carrier air conditioners. I'm not going to buy them anymore. I'll go with Crane. But Carrier air conditioners made in this country, they announced that they're moving to Mexico. They did. Somebody had the cell phone going. Taking the pictures. And 1,400 jobs are gone, right? They're gone. Like nothing, like magic. They announce this probably mid-level guy is up on a stage. I'm sorry, but we're moving to Mexico. They fired everybody, essentially. And I said, that's terrible. Now, Ford is building in Mexico. Nabisco's building in Mexico. So many people are building in Mexico. I love Mexico. I have thousands of Hispanics that work for me. When I won Nevada, I won with the Hispanics, the poll. So what happens is this. We have these eggheads that think they call them the elites. I say, why are they elite? They're more elite than me. Why are they elite? Half of them can't tie their shoes. And they say, Donald Trump is not a free trader. I am the greatest free trader. I'm the biggest free trader. But it has to be smart trade. It has to be even trade. We can't have trade where we have imbalances like 58 million with Mexico, 58 billion. We can't lose 500 billion a year with China. We can't do this. So here's what we do. We tell Carrier, and I want to do it myself, but they're all going to say it's not presidential. I'm not supposed to be calling us President Carrier. Do we agree? But maybe I'll do it anyway. Let him say I'm not. But I'll get Carl Icahn, or I'll get Phil Ruffin, or I'll get Andy Beal, and it'll all be very good. Believe me, folks. So here's what happens. We call up Carrier, and we say, I'd like to congratulate you on your move to Mexico. Congratulations. I think it's wonderful. You hurt 1,400 people and many more. And by the way, United Technologies, which owns Carrier, is moving a lot of other divisions there too. Okay, not going to happen. By the way, if I'm elected, not going to happen. So here's what I tell Carrier. I'd say, congratulations. I hope you build a beautiful place. I hope you employ a lot of people from Mexico. But you're hurting our country. So here's the story, folks. Every air conditioning unit that you make that's put across the border, which will be a real border now. It's not coming across unless they have our permission, right? Every single air conditioning unit that you make that comes across the border, we're going to impose a 35% tax on that. Now, if little Marco is president, which isn't going to happen, or if Lion 10 is president, okay? Here's what's going to happen. They're going to be called by their lobbyists. They're going to be called by the special interests. They're going to be called by donors and stockholders. They gave them money for their campaigns. By the way, I'm self-funded. You know, I'm self-funding. I'm putting up money. Okay? I don't think I get any credit. I don't think anybody says in Florida, oh, I'm voting for Trump because he's self-funded. Let me tell you something. That's a good reason to vote for him.
Yeah.
Because all of these guys, remember what I said. All of these guys are bought and paid for, folks. All right? So, and they're not stupid people. So they know it's bad to have carrier leave. They don't have to go to Wharton and they don't have to go to high school. Anybody knows. We're going to take care of our vets. We're going to take care of our health care. We're going to take care of education. We're going to take care of our borders. They're no longer going to be Swiss cheese people walking. We're going to have really powerful borders, and people are going to come into our country, but they're going to come into our country legally. Legally! And you're going to remember this afternoon, because we're all together, we're partners. You're going to remember this afternoon, and you're going to say in 2 years from now, and 3 years from now, and 4 years from now, that this was one of the great afternoons I've ever spent. And you're going to go, and on the 15th, Tuesday, you're going to vote, or before then, hopefully before then. Do it now, do it today, do it tomorrow. But you're going to go and early vote. I'd love you to early vote, but I won't hold you to it. But remember, you all swore you voted for Trump. You can check. And I promise, you are going to be so proud of your president, and you are going to be so proud of your country. I love you all.